All right. Hello and welcome to Smiling Souls. This is Wendy and Stephanie.
Hey.
And today we have our friends Molly and Deanna with us. So I am going to have Wendy just introduce and then we'll get going with our conversation.
All right, so here we go. I am so excited to introduce our friends, our colleagues, our polka dot sisters, Molly Knoderer and Deanna Shaat from Legacy Concierge Services. And combined, both Molly and Deanna have 50 years experience working in senior care and advocate for families caring for aging loved ones. They specialize in care management and senior living placement services. So welcome, Deanna and Molly. Oh my gosh. And by the way, we've been having such an interesting conversation beforehand, right? Because the goal with this, podcast is to give someone a smile, give someone a laugh, along with practical tips and advice. And so buckle up because you're going to get a lot of laughs. You're going to get a lot of smiles and also practical tips and advice. So I'm going to throw it in, get this going. And you talk, Molly and Deanna, a lot about, caregivers and sandwich generation. And you talk a lot about being proactive and taking control now of our choices as we age and also of our parents, right? Hopefully we want them to be proactive in their choices. With aging parents, and also to get our aging parents to communicate. Tell us, what do you want? What kind of resources do you have available? What does support look like for you as you're getting older? And I, for real, just had a message this morning. My parents refuse to talk to me about anything. So I know you guys get this. I'm going to let you run with it. So Molly and Deanna, take it.
Deanna, you want to start?
Sure. So that conversation that you just described is literally, I would say probably about 80% of the conversations that we get. And it's actually the first thing while they're calling us or texting us or emailing us is exactly that. We don't know. Mom won't talk to us about it, or mom hasn't talked to us about it, or loved ones, we don't know what to do. And we kind of made this, we actually cracked up and put this little tagline on our website because we said it so much. And we're like, if you don't know where to start, just start with us and we'll walk you through it. We're like, oh, that's a good one. So we put it up on our website. But yeah, and it becomes stressful. And with caregivers, and I know, we want caregivers to be in a position to be at peace with the decisions that they're making and doing the right things, because the tasks themselves are stressful enough. So then to have to make the decisions for your loved one because they refuse to make them for themselves, and then there becomes some infighting, and maybe there's some siblings that don't agree. It just becomes this environment that doesn't need to happen. And our soapbox is getting larger and larger and larger. Yeah, because we're like, you guys just have the conversation. I know it's crunchy and no one wants to have it ever. It's a horrible conversation to have. No one wants to have this conversation, but we say it every time. It's not an if, it's a when. Yeah. Aging is happening, and if you're lucky enough to age to a point where you need care, hopefully you've had that conversation with somebody of what you want that to look like. Mm-hmm. And that is just our goal, is to just have people stay in that peaceful space of knowing that they've said these things and it's on paper, or they've said it to whoever, so they can say, remember when I said this, or maybe they're not able to, but they've said it when they can remember. And then the care becomes exactly what they want. And, then it does become about the tasks, but the tasks are the right tasks, not what you think is the right tasks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, this is our forever conversation, I think. Yeah. And I mean, this is such a huge thing, not only professionally, but personally too. And It's just so important that we have these conversations. We obviously don't have a crystal ball. We can't predict what the next day is going to be, but at least if we have the conversation about driving, about living in your home, about cleaning your home so that it's safe, and like being able, these are the types of things that are so important. And, I've heard families say, well, your mom knows what I want, so that'll be fine. But what if something happens, there's a car accident, or, what if something happens to mom before it happens to you? And so like these conversations have to be had. And I kind of have the viewpoint, if your loved one or yourself are not willing to have the conversation with somebody, then you are choosing your outcome, which is going to be stressful,
Right.
chaotic, and it's probably going to cause some dynamics in the family or within your little village that are not going to be nice. It's not going to be good. So like I'm a big fan of the phrase, choose your behavior, choose your consequence. And so if you choose not to, then your consequence will be, chaos. If you choose to have the conversation, then at least you have people on the same page with you and you can kind of go through the journey. It's going to be stressful no matter what, but at least you have some dialogue going and a little bit of a map in terms of what direction to go. Some people really love the idea of going into an assisted living community because they just don't want to have to cook and clean and do all the things. And they also are very social. Some people are adamant, we always hear, I'm going out of my house feet first. They want to be at their house until the end of their life. And but that's great that they voice that. But then the next question is, well, what are the resources that you have available to keep you there or get you there? And one of the things that we know, especially with the older generation, is that a lot of times finances are not shared. The money talk doesn't happen. There's such a guarded conversation. And so I think that as in our generation, we have the ability to change that culture, and we should be able to talk about that. And it's okay. It's congratulations, you have this for your assets. So that's great. And now what are we going to do with them to make sure we can follow through with what your wishes are? So they're not fun conversations.
They are not fun conversations. And do you have, because we like to provide tips, right? So what's a tip to make it easier to have that crunchy conversation?
That's a great question because they're never really easy.
Yeah.
I've had to have this with my own parents, and I just did it. Believe it or not, and I work in this industry, but I just recently had this conversation with them. Wow. But I've been kind of priming them for this conversation. Like, we really need to kind of figure this out. And then eventually we sat down and I said, show me everything. And in what order do you want to, where do you want to live? So kind of all the things, but kind of that most important thing is, how do you pay for it? And that's where the crunchiness, kind of to Molly's point, that's where the crunchiness comes from, because they don't want to talk about it. They don't want to talk about their finances. It's kind of that taboo generation where they didn't. So it's not easy. You can't, sometimes you just have to have that crunchy call and say, look, if you want these things, we're going to have to sit down and do this. And we did. And my mom, we pulled everything out, and she said, here's our assets. I said, okay. I said, in what order do you want me to liquidate these to help pay for your care or home care or whatever that looks like? And so they gave me that blueprint or map on what to do. But it did take a while to get there. And my aunt is another one that I don't even know how I'm going to approach that subject with her, because she won't talk about it. She won't. No, we'll not talk about it. And it's going to land on me. And I'm a shining example of what not to do, but I don't even know how I can approach her. So stay tuned.
Is there like a starting point that is the easy way to tiptoe into these conversations? Because like, I know for me, I've tried to chat with my parents about like, just, okay, you get hit by a bus tomorrow. What are we doing? And like, my mom is totally like, I don't talk about that. That's morbid. And I'm like, seriously, woman, I know what I want, and I'm a hell of a lot younger than you. Like, Joe and I have told each other what to do. You should tell us what to what you want us to do, right?
Yeah.
And because I basically said, if you don't tell me, you're gonna get cremated and sprinkled somewhere. If that's not what you want, you got to tell me.
Yeah.
You're the hourglass in the game. Yeah.
Exactly.
There you go. Push Joe.
Yeah.
But like, it's like she just shuts down, and but it's like one of those, like, I kind of had to tiptoe into that conversation in my way of being like, it's not that big of a deal. Like, I've had this conversation. Yeah. So, like, let's talk about it, and finally she said, well, she still hasn't told me what she wants. I know what my dad wants, so that's good. But
right.
But I think one of the key things is, like, I think a lot of our parents want to be independent, and they want to stay independent, and they want to stay in control. Having this conversation is a way for them to stay in control. And and so that, because otherwise, if we don't know, then we're having to, it's like throwing darts in the wind. Hopefully we're making a good decision. We don't know. And I mean, I may not be prepared financially to provide for my parents. And so I don't know what the expectation is. So I think one of the ways is like, hey, I know you want to stay independent. This is one of the ways we're going to honor that, is that we're going to have the conversation so that we can, keep you in charge. Even if you don't have a voice for yourself, you've already made your choices that we can honor. I mean, like, we're like, my husband and I, Charlie and I, we've done our trusts, and we don't have kids. And so we had to make sure whoever, are our decision makers, they have a copy of it. They know what we want. They know if we're not able to make decisions for ourselves, we already have it written down, what we want, to the extent of what we want done. And then they have access they know all of our assets, because we need them to know that if something happens to us, that this is what's going to happen. And so, and like we want to make sure our dogs are taken care of. So, like, those are the types of things that we want to make sure are in place, but we have to make that choice. So that's what we did when we put our trust together. All of that's in there, because we don't have kids to advocate for us and share that. So like that, those are I think those are really important conversations. But to me, it's a matter of honoring their independence, but they have to participate in the conversation.
Yeah.
And if they choose not to, then they're making a choice of not staying independent.
Right. The easiest way that I got my parents to kind of start talking about it was we had a family members that were in a very similar situation of not being prepared. And my parents, which is funny, they were so opinionated about, oh my God, like nobody knew what was going on. They were criticizing themselves, and they didn't realize that. And of course I didn't say that, but I was like,
you're going,
well, in that vein, like, since that happened, you saw what the fallout was because of that. Why don't we talk about it? Like, really, let's sit down and do this. And that it helps, because now they actually saw in real time how it unfolded when someone wasn't prepared. And the family members were making bad decisions, but they didn't know. These were, adult children had no idea. They were just like, we think this is going to be a great idea. My parents were like horrified. I'm like, okay, well. On that note, so maybe for anyone listening to this, maybe that's what they need to do is, listen to some situations going around them and use that as a way in, as a door to open with their loved ones.
I love that, because at our parents' age, there's always someone that has fallen, had a heart attack, hurt their back, whatever. And you can play off of that. And so it's almost, and I love what you said too, Molly, about, staying in control. So it's kind of sounds like chipping away at the conversation, right? Little by little by little by little, and just saying, well, do you want to stay in control? Well, yes, I do. Okay, let's have this conversation. And I also came to my mind, Steph, what if you offered like some essential oils? Do you have like an essential oil to promote conversation?
Well,
I think that's called tequila.
right. Well, I think as far as tequila and some wild orange diffusing, because wild orange
Did you
actually
say tequila?
well, that's what Molly said.
Oh,
And I was just
thinking
going
they're
with
an
it.
essential oil.
Yes, tequila. So no.
Never mind.
Wild orange essential oil is really cool because it helps us overcome our fears.
Ah.
Yeah. So that would probably be my like go-to one to like diffuse the room while you're having that conversation. We have a couple blends that I enjoy. Like there's a couple ones that I think might be also helpful because they would kind of keep things grounded and peaceful. But I think the citrus end of it, of particularly orange, because like a lot of little kids, like 3-year-olds, will suddenly ask for their parents to diffuse wild orange at night, like when it's bedtime. And beginner essential oil people would be like, no, that's going to wake you up because it keeps you alert. Well, for a little kid around 3, that's when you start having nightmares. And that orange smell helps them relax and release that. And so they feel comforted and then they can go to sleep. So for like mom and dad, it might be that thing that kind of helps them open up.
I feel like you should send a box of essential oil ahead of the conversation.
Hell yeah.
Just saying.
And, well, the other thing is that's also interesting is like you can just kind of use yourself as the diffuser. So you could like roll it on yourself and just have it like permeating off of you. And then they don't know that you're playing tricks, but you're playing sneaky little tricks.
I love that. Or just put some on your hand and like shake their hand or whatever.
Mm-hmm, exactly.
You got it.
Well, so like there's the emotional blends, like one's called Console and the Console one. A lot of people will wear that like as their perfume to say a funeral. Aww. And it literally helps not only console them but the people around them. And so then like the people feel more at ease and like able to let go of the things that they're dealing with, so it's just interesting. Like there's amazing things you can do, and you can kind of do it in that semi sneaky way.
Some little subtleties there.
Yeah.
Scent is there. One thing that I heard recently that I thought was hilarious. Okay, not so hilarious, but I'll throw it out there anyway. So a family got together, like all the brothers and sisters and mom and dad, to have this conversation, right? And everyone knew it was going to happen. So everybody's like on edge. But then one of the siblings said, okay, we're just going to go around the table and everybody's going to say how they want to be, how she say it? How do you want to be buried or whatever? And so everybody, the kids, mom and dad, right? And so there were some funny things, like someone said, and I'm going to steal this, well, I want to be cremated, but I want someone to fill my pockets with unpopped popcorn. Right?
Oh,
and so you just like, I'm stealing that. I am so stealing that. Like if I kick first, honey, fill my pockets with what the hell is that? So like make light of it. Have some fun with it, kind of that.
Yeah.
It's going to happen to all of us.
My friend's mother is a super history buff, and like literally she is, I can't even remember how old she is, but she like literally just finished getting a master's in history at UConn. But she's been telling her daughter for years, I want a Viking funeral. And my friend's like, that's not legal in the United States. Like, I can't put you on a raft and light it on fire and ship you out to sea. Like, that is not possible.
Awesome.
So we keep trying to come up with little mini Viking funerals that we can do for her.
That's funny.
Viking themed. Yeah. You just can't do the raft.
Yeah.
Anyway, there's ways around that. Molly's like, How are we going to do that?
That's funny.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. And so do you, Molly or Deanna, I feel like this would be so helpful, a case study almost of a client that came to you, aging, a parent, child, or whatever, had no plan in place whatsoever, had no conversation, and you guys helped them to turn it around and positive results. You're both shaking your heads. Okay. What a rip.
And in all honesty, like, I'm not kidding. That is a very high percentage of the clients that we get.
Mm-hmm.
Because the caregiver really, truly doesn't know what to do. Mm-hmm. They are thrust into this situation and they have no idea, like, who to even call, like, what phone number, like, do I go online, do I go to Google, like, all the things. And yes, it happens. I mean, most of the times we are unpacking baggage before we ever getting to the point of helping somebody. Like, we are really having to get down to the nitty gritty of what has or hasn't happened. And it's more that hasn't happened yet. So before we can even get started, do you have a POA? Do you have access to the accounts? Do you have, like, you got to pay for stuff, right? What are the wishes? Do you have, I mean, these are, before we can even get started, we've got to unpack all that stuff. And if they don't even know where to begin to look for that stuff, that's where we start. And then we kind of start putting things in place. Most of the times, I mean, we're in crisis mode, so we're able to kind of really get, this in turbo, but not always. And if I can tag on one more thing, I have a client, and Molly has had a client that literally has no family. And they were put into a horrible situation where they can't care for themselves. And the attorney gratefully had the wherewithal to say, okay, folks, like, we need help. I'm an attorney. That I don't do care. I don't set up homes for someone that needs, hospital beds and stuff. I not have access to his money. So we've had to put together an entire care team for my client in particular, that literally had nothing in place and no family. So and that's been a journey. That's 5 years in the making right now. I mean, I've been with this guy for 5 years, but nothing, like, literally nothing. Mm-hmm. So to answer your question, yes.
Yeah.
Hard yes.
Yeah. I mean, we recently had someone we were working with who didn't have any family, and basically hired all of their, the attorney, the financial advisor, a fiduciary. And then we got brought on board to help relocate into a different assisted living. And we found out through, like, deep diving, this person befriended somebody in the community, a security guard at a local college, and made them their beneficiary. And this person, it was a really bad situation. And we had to go through a whole process, and the person was very naive, and everybody's my friend, so here we go. I mean, this person was worth millions of dollars, and very much being taken for granted and advantage of. And we were able to luckily make, with a team effort, kind of make the appropriate changes so that there's a fiduciary who's helping to be responsible for this, someone who's a professional. There's codes of ethics, and so we get brought into situations like this all the time, and it's everything looks like this on the surface, and then we start, like Deanna said, we start deep diving, and we start asking all the questions, and we go, we're raising red flags because of the person's. We've got to protect them financially, medically, emotionally, and it does sometimes take a team effort. And so it's a very interesting, it can get interesting. We had situations where a sibling was in New York, and the person, their sibling was here in Sonoma County and in California. And I mean,
but no plan.
No plan. And we had to I mean, I can remember we were in a storage unit, and my favorite story is she wanted this one sweater, and we were trying to go in. I had the sibling on FaceTime. Deanna was climbing in the boxes in the storage unit. I was holding on to her ankles, and
Anybody film this?
It was filmed because the sibling was on FaceTime with us, because they were like, he's like, okay, go to the right, and so we've, it was like, we have to do these things. And so, I mean, we cleaned out her apartment when she needed to go to assisted living. She had an abusive boyfriend that we had to deal with. And so, I mean, trust me.
Yeah.
You do a little bit of everything.
They really do.
There was not a plan in place.
You should.
We could write a book.
I just want to see the video of Deanna's feet dangling.
Oh,
that's all you saw, was just my feet in the air.
And I can kind of see Molly like laughing while also just being like, "What the?"
I'm like, pull me back. She's like, I can't. I'm laughing too hard. I'm like, I'm stuck upside down. My feet are in there.
She found the sweater.
Yeah, I did.
So our client was very happy. But I mean, the things, and it's like, things happen in life, and so we're lucky we get to be a part of solutions and getting people what they need, and like I said, protecting them. And yeah, that's one of my favorite stories ever. Is she's climbing on the boxes, and
I mean, you have to laugh.
It's full service.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you guys really are full service. Like I used to not quite know what you did. I knew to a degree, but I was like, holy moly, it's impressive.
But we don't do that on a daily basis.
No, I know.
But we got it. I mean,
we have.
You don't have Deanna crawling around in boxes on a daily basis.
Oh God,
that's how she stays youthful.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it's a lot of fun. I mean, we get to meet. So, I mean, that's the thing about what we do, is we get to meet some of the most amazing human beings. And I always think about, like, these are the people that helped create, our freeway system and put cars on the road. And, there were our professors and our teachers and the next door neighbor and the PTA mom. And like all these people that we get to work with, their stories and their adventure that they've had through their lives, and then their willingness to share that with us. Like, I just think it's the coolest thing ever that we get to be a part of the journey, and it's towards the end of their journey, but to be able to be a part of it is like it's the coolest thing, and to get that trust, and that they will allow us to be a part of their journey is, I think, one of the coolest honors we can have. And we have met the most amazing. You can imagine, however many years combined we've been doing this, the most amazing people we have met. And, the history books don't come close to telling the story of these amazing humans. And we're willing to climb in boxes and go, dumpster diving, essentially. So we get to hear these stories, and it's an honor to get to do what we do. We're so lucky. We don't take it for granted. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I think, and to kind of tag on to that, with that journey, we are also helping caregivers along the way, which to see once we start from start to finish, to see shoulders come out of their ear, and just like you see their shoulders, and you see them so tense, and you can just see them relax, and we got this, we got you, and the look of relief when we've gone from start to finish. And sometimes we stay on, but that end goal initially is what we're looking for. That is as much of a reward, I think, is when the caregivers are like, we don't know how we would have done this without you, or how, so glad we called, or, thank you for guiding me through this. That is rewarding as well.
They get to be a family again, and not overburdened with the tasks of caregiving, because it is distracting, and it can create so much dysfunction too. And so we can hopefully create those relationships, rebuild them again.
Oh my gosh.
You said it perfectly, Deanna. That was awesome.
Yeah, there you go. I was going to say, you got to give yourself a little pat on the back. Little pat on the back. So with your work, the kids actually get to be kids again. I mean, not like 5-year-old tricycle riding, but they get to be present with their parents and enjoying that time they have left. And then the parents, the seniors, they really get to share like their experiences with you. It sounds like they really open up. And that I have found, just being with my mom and being with, her friends in the assisted living, the knowledge and the stories, like you said, are just like, wow, that's incredible that you did this kind of thing. And I look at myself and I'm like, well, damn, they're really a badass. And they still are. And here I am kind of like, oh, I'm afraid to do this or I'm afraid to do that. Well, no, because look at what they've accomplished.
Yeah. And what they still can do.
And what they still exactly.
Yeah, they still can do. I mean, I'm sharing the story nonstop because it's my favorite story right now, which is we're working with an incredible client. She's 99. And when she told me she was 90, I went there to go talk to her for like 30 minutes to do an assessment. I didn't want to kind of outwear my welcome because it was our first time to meet. I was told by the family she's very stubborn, very independent, will push back on any help. And so we ended up having like an hour and a half conversation. It was so awesome. And she told me when she said, I'm 99. And I was, she was amazing. And she said, but when I tell people I'm 99, it immediately takes ability away from me because people make assumptions about because I'm this age or because I have this disease or because I have whatever, people immediately take and disempower her, even though she's still able to do quite a bit, maybe slower than what she did previously, but she can still do it. And so it's just, I think that's kind of like one of I'm very focused on this story right now. I think I've told it. Deanna is probably like, not again, but it is a really powerful statement and a reminder for all of us, whether we're caregivers or work in the profession, that listen to what they're, listen to the stories, understand their capabilities and don't label them. Don't put limitations on people. I mean, granted, there has to be safety and, there may be some cognitive issues or whatever, but there's still this incredible human being sitting in front of you that we need to honor.
Absolutely.
So, I don't know. It's part of the soapbox right now.
I love that.
I love it. And I want to say AARP has got some kind of resource where it brings the seniors together with all this knowledge. And it's some kind of community that all of us can tap into because there's so much collective wisdom and experiences. So, Steph, I'll find that and we can put it in the show notes because, right, we all need that guidance and they've got it. And they're still willing to share with us and they're still valuable members of society. So that came up for me. The other resource that came up for me, again, AARP has got conversation cards to start like conversations that you can like customize. It's really cool. It's free. So go to AARP. I'll find the link to that too, Steph. And you can say, okay, I want to have this kind of conversation. I want to have that kind of conversation. And then you've got conversation cards. And you can just say, I found these on AARP, Mom and Dad. Maybe they'll be curious. Who knows?
Yeah. That's super helpful.
A lot of the assisted living communities, the senior living communities are starting to partner with universities and build their senior living communities on or near a university campus so that the students and the residents of those senior living communities can have interaction. And because there's so much wealth that those students can gain and vice versa, where the residents can gain from the students. And so they're starting to see they're starting to build more intergenerational opportunities, which I think is awesome.
I've read about things like that where even kind of connecting elderly with young kids too, because again, that like gives them like that energy and like refreshes them in a way, and gives the kids kind of compassion and things as well. It's interesting. Yeah.
Well, Steph, you got anything else? Should we bring this home?
I think we're bringing it home. This was so good. I love your stories. I love connecting with both of you. And I am so glad you came on to share with our community.
Yeah.
Our pleasure.
Likewise. Oh my gosh. Thank you guys so much. And so, how can someone get in touch with you? Like, we're going to share all that in the show notes, but what's the best way? Actually, another question on that. Like, when someone has a parent that has fallen, has had a diagnosis, something has gone down, they call you, what happens?
Well, initially, well, that's a loaded question. So initially, we have on our website. So to circle back, you can get us on our socials. We're Facebook and Instagram, but you can go to our website, and there is a place where you can schedule a free consultation with us, and that's where we start. So really, is connecting with us, so we can actually just get the download, hear what's happening, and then that's where we start kind of generating some ideas for the families to see if are we on the right page, and if we are, do you want us to continue with you on your journey? So that's usually the first step, is just getting to our website, getting that consultation scheduled with us. It blocks out that half hour. It's free. There's no obligation. Someone just needs to download it and just be like, blah, here's what's going on, and here's what's happening, and then we can, like I said, we can get out our little decoder pins and try to decipher all the things of all that, that can happen. So
Right.
That's the best.
Are your services primarily for people who have loved ones in your area, or is it something that you can help others with, even if they're kind of further away?
Yeah, we can help. And we have, we do senior living placement here, mostly in the senior living placement in the Bay Area where we're located. But we do consultation with families all over the United States. We've even had consultation with families in India, the UK. So so we're able to do, we have a link on our website also for if you want to do a kind of a one-time consultation where we can create a quick plan. It's not something you need our long-term services with, but we can set up a time and we can get a quick plan in place and, have a productive conversation. So yeah, anywhere we get text messages and emails and phone calls from all over.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And if we're not able to help them directly with what they need, we're part of a network that we can reach out to that network and say, hey, this is the person you need to talk in Boston or wherever you might be located. So we can forward you on to someone who's more direct in your community.
That's awesome.
So get a hold of Molly and Deanna if your shoulders are like this. Right? Because even just like one conversation with them, it just eases the stress.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Molly and Deanna.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Awesome. Thank you. Have a great day.
Thanks, you too.
All right. See you later next time.